This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. Grief-stricken families prayed at a Buddhist temple after the bodies of those killed in a knife and gun rampage at a daycare center in Thailand were finally released. AP correspondent Karen Chamas has the story.
Relatives gathered inside the temple where the coffins lay of many of the dozens of people killed. Most of the dead were preschoolers who were stabbed and shot as they napped on blankets on the floor. Large photos of happy toddlers rested amongst flowers and grieving relatives kneeling at their coffins. Local official Noparat Langkapin said the whole area is grieving the loss. We are a mid-sized community, not big, so everyone knew what happened very quickly, causing deep sadness among us. Seskan Sriraj lost his wife and daughter in the attack. I cried until I had no more tears coming out of my eyes. They're now running through my heart. I'm Karen Chamas.
A truck explosion caused the partial collapse of a eroded rail bridge linking the Crimean Peninsula with Russia early on Saturday, damaging a conduit that's essential for sustaining Russia's military operations in southern Ukraine. Moscow stopped short of assigning blame, but the speaker of Crimea's Kremlin-backed regional parliament immediately accused Ukraine while downplaying the severity of the damage. Kyiv has not officially claimed responsibility for the attack, but Ukrainian officials have repeatedly threatened to strike the bridge. The 19-kilometer bridge across the Kerch Strait links the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. It opened in 2018. The $3.5 billion project is a tangible symbol of Moscow's claims on Crimea. The Ukrainian Postal Service has announced it will issue stamps commemorating the destruction of the bridge. You can find more at our website, voanews.com. This is VOA News. 10 people were killed in an explosion at a gas station in Ireland's northwest, according to police Saturday. They suggested a tragic accident may have been to blame. Police said the blast occurred around 3:20 p.m. Friday in County Donegal village of Creeslow. Ireland's police said in a news conference on Saturday. Police said the 10 casualties are 4 men, 3 women, 2 teenagers, both a boy and a girl, and a younger girl. They said all the victims appeared to be locals. Rescue efforts by Ireland's emergency services went on through the night after the blast ripped through the gas station and a nearby apartment complex. 2 two-story residential buildings behind it had collapsed, while the facade of a similar adjacent building was blown off. Authorities are investigating, but say so far it looks like an accident. At least 12 people died and 2 were in critical condition after a bus caught fire in Nashik city in India's western state of Maharashtra on Saturday. This according to a police official who spoke to Reuters. More than 30 injured were being treated at the local civil hospital while an investigation into the cause of the accident was underway. This according to another official at the police control room in Nashik, about 190 kilometers north of India's financial capital, Mumbai. The bus caught fire after hitting a diesel tanker, according to local media. Videos on social media showed the bus engulfed in a massive ball of fire. The United States on Saturday said it was reviewing a request for international support from Haiti, which says it is seeking a specialized armed force to address a crisis caused by a blockade of the country's main fuel port. The State Department said criminal actors were undermining Haiti's efforts to halt the spread of cholera. It said Washington will explore how to increase U.S. support to help with Haiti's fuel shortage, as well as its security issues. No details were given. 5 years after stories about him made the Me Too movement explode, former Hollywood powerhouse Harvey Weinstein is going on trial in Los Angeles. AP correspondent Julie Walker has more.
Harvey Weinstein is already serving a 23-year sentence for rape and sexual assault in New York. The 70-year-old former movie mogul faces different allegations in L.A., including several that prosecutors say occurred during a pivotal Oscar week. Jury selection for an 8-week trial begins Monday. Weinstein was indicted for rape and sexual assault involving 5 women who will appear in court as Jane Does to tell their stories. He has pleaded not guilty. 4 more women will be allowed to take the stand to give accounts of Weinstein's sexual assaults that did not lead to charges.
From Washington, D.C., you're listening to VOA News. This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. UK government ministers have implored Conservative colleagues to rally behind their Prime Minister. AP correspondent Karen Chamas has more.
British Prime Minister Liz Truss has had a rocky start to her premiership. A misfiring economic plan marred Truss's tumultuous first month in office and threw her party into disarray. Cabinet Minister Nadhim Zahawi said with 2 years until the next general election, the party should start rallying behind Truss to ensure they're re-elected. The pleas for unity come as lawmakers are set to return to Parliament from a 2-week break. Karen Chamas, London.
At least 3 Buddhist temples near the site of a mass shooting and knife attack at a Thailand daycare center held ceremonies Sunday to honor the 36 victims of Thursday's violence. The gun and knife attack on the Young Children's Development Center in Uthai Sawan was Thailand's deadliest mass killing. It robbed the small farming community of much of its youngest generation. The former police officer who stormed the building killed 24 people at the daycare center before taking more lives as he fled. Police say he killed his wife and child before committing suicide. The UN nuclear watchdog says an external power line to Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the biggest in Europe, has been repaired. Shelling disconnected the facility from the grid and forced it to resort to emergency diesel generators. The International Atomic Energy Agency said the 750 kilovolt line was reconnected to the plant on Sunday evening following repair work by Ukrainian engineers that enabled the plant to start switching off the generators that had kicked in to provide it with power after the line, its last connection to the grid, was cut early Saturday. This is VOA News. Protests ignited by the death of a young woman in police custody continued across Iran on Sunday, despite a fierce crackdown by authorities. As a human rights group said, at least 185 people, including children, had been killed in the unrest. Demonstrations that began September 17th at the funeral of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini have turned into the biggest challenges to Iran's clerical leaders in years. Protesters have been calling for the downfall of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Philippine police have killed 3 detained militants linked to the Islamic State group after they stabbed a jail officer and briefly held a detained former opposition senator in a failed escape attempt at the police headquarters in the capital region. The national police chief said Sunday that former Senator Leila de Lima was unhurt and taken to a hospital for a checkup following the brazen escape and hostage-taking attempt in a maximum security jail at the main police camp in metropolitan Manila. De Lima has been detained since 2017 and has been facing a trial for drug charges that she says were fabricated by former President Rodrigo Duterte, whose term ended in June. The charges fabricated, she said, to muzzle her criticism of his deadly anti-drugs crackdown. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said a decision by the OPEC Plus grouping to cut oil production was unhelpful and unwise for the global economy, especially emerging markets. She made the remarks to the Financial Times, which published them on Sunday. Yellen also criticized allies for being slow to send financial aid to Ukraine. She pointed out that some countries that had pledged assistance had not gotten around to dispersing it. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen is expected to pledge to bolster the island's combat power and determined to improve its defenses when she makes a major speech on Monday. Democratic Taiwan, claimed by China as its own territory, has come under increasing military and political pressure from Beijing, especially after Chinese war games in early August that followed a Taipei visit by U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. French officials say more than 360 migrants were rescued Sunday while attempting the perilous crossing between the north coast of France and the south coast of England in small boats. Regional maritime boats and a French Navy patrol ship made multiple trips to rescue groups of people in distress in the English Channel. In all, they rescued 367 people, taking them to the French ports of Calais, Boulogne, and Dunkirk. You can find more on this and all the stories we're covering at our website, voanews.com. We also have an app you can download. Just search for VOA News. Via remote,